This is the TVR T350T, and although it's jaw-droppingly gorgeous, it does have a whiff of savagery about it. It doesn't give its game away easily. Lurking under the bonnet here, you have 350 brake horsepower to play with. It's in the name, from its organically homegrown Speed 6 engine. In a car that weighs under 1,200 kilograms, TVR effectively stuck a jetpack onto a mosquito. But this car makes more than just an insect-esque buzz. And because it's a T350T, you can hear its race-bred engine roaring away. You see, the T in its name stands for Targa, which means its swelling forehead isn't just a gimmick. No, instead these bobbles are removable carbon fibre panels, combining wind-in-your-hair wizardry with a classic coupe configuration. The structural rigidity of the car is still maintained effectively though, so it doesn't fall victim to sailboat levels of buffeting. And that's very impressive in a car with a power-to-weight ratio of 300 brake horsepower per tonne. If you're the kind of person who doesn't know or care about what an iDrive system is, then this is the sports car for you. It does away with any technological gadgetry and instead focuses on a raw manual driving experience. That can bring challenges, but addictive driving dynamics. Now, if you read any TVR review from the age of floppy disks and spiky hair, with each new model the marque released, journalists would always praise it without fail for being a better driving car than the last one. Now, of course, the T350 would soon go to the gym and come out as the Cigaris, a ripped bodybuilder who, sure, still had his light ballet feet, but a hell of a lot more steroids induced into him. The Cigaris is the ultimate poster child of TVR, but its older brother, the T350, shouldn't be forgotten about. In today's market, it represents amazing value for money and has looks that deserve a parental advisory sticker. This is the car that kicked off a golden age of millennium speed machines. This is the car that brought a whole new meaning to the word design. This is the car that made Porsche wet themselves. Welcome everyone to the TVR Tuscan. The Tuscan is a prime cut example of style and substance mixing in perfect harmony like butter and steak, because with 333 brake horsepower per tonne, a top speed of 180 miles an hour, and that visceral roar from the in-house Speed 6 engine, it's as mesmerising to drive as it is to look at. Throughout TVR's golden decade of the 1990s, each new model tore up the rulebook more and more, so by the time the Tuscan was released in 2000, it was barely readable. And it shows. The Tuscan looked like a prehistoric sea creature and struck like a lightning bolt. Straight into the Teutonic heart of Porsche. The 996 generation of 911 was struggling with a new water-cooled engine and headlights that resembled something you'd eat for breakfast. The Tuscan, meanwhile, was gorgeously garish, stunningly sculpted, and a superb evolution of the TVR marque. Its purpose, to bring a knife to the mainstream sports car gunfight. And with a price tag of £20,000 less than a poverty spec 911, its bullet shot successfully. The Tuscan also quickly became an A-list celebrity, not the kind you find on the front of glossy magazines full of exclamation marks. No, instead it starred next to some bloke called John Travolta in the 2001 film Swordfish and established a cult classic name for itself thanks to appearances in Gran Turismo video games, back in the day when pixels were few and far between and Motorola actually meant something. So what's happened? Why am I now kneeling in front of the most supernatural sports car you can buy for under 35 grand and not a 911 which is in a museum somewhere, probably? Because the Tuscan did things its own way. It was a riskier proposition for the average sports car buyer, and although it was immensely successful for TVR, living on for 6 years, due to many agonising factors, TVR was slowly wilting away. Meanwhile, due to the introduction of their horrifically hulkish Cayenne SUV, Porsche and other brands alike just kept growing bigger and bigger. Today though, 25 years down the line, it's the exclusivity of the Tuscan that fuels its ferocious appeal. It's histrionically handsome and forever a star. It's thanks to the Tuscan's mainstream rivals that it fits into the mysterious character costume. It's always played the role of the outlandish dream machine. And with demand still being so high today, it's something that everyone's still craving. We've had a letter from a viewer. His name is Connor Pierce, and he says, "Hi Jamie, there is nothing to like about the TVR Tamora." Harsh. He says it looks like a sleep-deprived owl or a toad that's just discovered electricity and regrets its life choices. Thank you, Connor. Now that might seem quite damning, but Mr. Pierce isn't alone in his opinion. You see, whilst most TVRs have gone down in history as belonging in the leagues of the high and mighty, the Tamora is usually considered as being a bit more short and shitey. So here is why that's wrong. Yes, it's time to give TVR's fiery cherub the respect it deserves. Revealed in 2001, the Tamora had clown-sized shoes to fill, because with the Chimera now out of production, it would be crowned as the new entry-level TVR. But remember, an entry-level TVR is a bit like a grizzly bear missing a couple of teeth. It can still attack hard, in this case with a 0 to 60 time of 4.2 seconds and a top speed of 170 miles an hour plus. TVR named the Tamora after a Shakespearean witch, appropriate considering it had wicked levels of power. That made the Porsche Boxster and Merc SLK look a little bit last century, like a washboard or Spam. Its power-to-weight ratio was also 60 brake horsepower higher than the Porsche 911 Turbo. David wasn't just beating Goliath, he was throwing out insults on the way. But let's now focus on our 2003 Tamora, currently in stock at Amore Autos, because you simply can't ignore its bizarre nebula blue paint. It makes this car an uncompromisable head-turner, adding to TVR's relentlessly unapologetic middle finger to the supercar establishment that grew even stronger in the early 2000s. So Mr. Pierce, I'm afraid I disagree with you. The Tamora is more than just a Tuscan with the ends chopped off. It's a finely fettled, perfected sports car package, the only example of TVR detuning its Speed 6 engine to make a more drivable machine. Good on them. That didn't mean they went easy on it though. Tamora would go on to lend its platform to the T350. So when you consider that both cars share the same organs deep inside, TVR's pocket rocket here marks amazing value for money, especially with only 356 ever made. But my favourite thing about the Tamora is that it doesn't care. It doesn't give a toss. Love it or hate it. It's evidence that TVRs will never stop being unique.